executive director here, and this is our board president, Minette Maisel. And she wanted to be here on this special day to welcome you. She's going to say a few words about the Heritage Society. There's actually a lady here, Minette, who used to work in the yesteryear shop.
Oh, really?
Where is she? Which one? She worked this lady in the peach. Didn't you work in the? One of y'all worked in the shop.
I did.
This one.
Oh,
and
cool.
so we remember that.
Years ago.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'd
that
love
way.
to talk to you about that.
Yes. So she'll tell us a little, and then I'll turn it over and say a few words.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming to the Heritage Society. And we're really excited by this new donation, which Allison's going to talk about. But the Heritage Society, for those that are familiar, like yourself, was founded in 1954 in response to the possible imminent demolition of the oldest house in Houston on its original site, the Nichols-Rice-Cherry House, which is over across Allen Parkway. And that house not only was a residence when it was first built, but it also served as the first headquarters of the Houston Park, and I use the word singular, Park Department, because Sam Houston Park was the very first municipal city park founded in 1899, and that was the headquarters. And then it was also, for about 5 years, the Houston Zoo. Very interesting. They hired the manager was from the Bronx Zoo in New York, and that was one of the biggest zoos at that time in the country, so it was really a big deal to get in here. But so it's had a lot of lives, and it was also a school, a lot of different lives. But since that founding in 1954 to save that house, there have been 9 more historic houses added to the inventory here, dating up until the early 20th century. And 2 of those houses are very reflective of African American heritage in Houston. They came from 4th Ward of Freedmanstown, just a few blocks over, and actually the park is part of 4th Ward. We're very proud of those houses. One was built by Reverend Jack Yates in 1870. He was probably the preeminent civic and religious leader of Houston of the 19th century. He founded many churches, including Antioch Church. He helped purchase the land for a park in 1869, if I get that date right. Emancipation Park. So the family donated that house to us to be used as a teaching tool. And then we also have a smaller house next door that's a row house, almost like a shotgun house, that we also were given. What's wonderful about those 2 is we recently received an international designation along with the Cal Noble House by UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, if y'all are familiar with UNESCO. They have worldwide historic sites. They're based in Paris. And we were designated as part of what they call the Slave Route Project, which are important African American sites and places throughout the world. And so we're really proud of that designation. We also, as you see here in our museum gallery, have just gone through a renovation thanks to the Hertzstein Foundation, and the back area is going through renovation as well. So we have lots of programs, as you might well imagine, school groups, all kinds of people like yourself coming here, and we're very pleased to have you here today. Our staff is great, led by Allison Bell, and you've seen Anna over here, who's always taking our pictures. And Dana is here also. So thank you. Do you all have any questions that we can try to answer about 70 years of our history? Okay, thank you. And Sandra over here has been a stalwart volunteer for about 1 million years, right?
I've been coming here for over 30 years.
Yes, yeah. So.
As a volunteer and a NIBI person saying, what are y'all doing?
That's good. That's good. We appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you so much.
So, back in August, on a Friday afternoon, I opened an interesting letter from a company called Comfort Moves. And it just so happened to be on the day when Sandra and another woman named Ray Bryant, our most enthusiastic volunteers, were there, and they said, and I showed them here, this is the hand-typed letter, and a picture of Lady Grace. And I showed it to them, and they said, call them right now, we want that. I said, okay. So here we are today. Sandra is a Houston tour guide and often referred to as the Tunnel Lady. Ray Bryant does extensive research in African American history, so she was over the top about Lucinda. So here we are now to this day, and we are so excited to have this. I have enjoyed meeting Mary Lynn and her team. They have taken such good care of this transition. I see why you would hire her. She's wonderful, and she took the extra special. She drove down here early, made sure she knew where she was going and parking. I met her team, which happens to be her family. So you were in great hands, and I'm just so thankful that you all are here today and that you made the trip. And now I want to turn it over to learn more about these wonderful dolls. Pat, do you want to talk? Mary Lynn, do you want to say a few words before? Are you ready? You're the lady of the hour.
Mary Lynn knows more about the doll than I do. First of all, I want to thank all of you sweet friends who came down today. It just means so much to me that you're all here. I thank the Comfort Move people who took an interest in my doll and researched her history more than I ever thought about researching. And I just appreciate the gentleness they took in moving her twice now, or maybe it's 3 times, I don't remember. And more than anything, I want to thank the Houston Heritage Society. I'm so pleased that she is going to be living here, because she is a Houstonian. She was built by a Houstonian, and I ain't taking her off soon.
No.
But I just really enjoyed making her. The doll person that I was taking lessons from decided to send for a mold to make this big doll. And of course, being excited about anything that was big, I said, let me have one too. I'll if you buy the molds, I'll pitch in and help you buy them, and I'll make one too. Well, in the midst of making her, she found out that she had cancer and was not going to survive it. And so she decided at that point to stop her doll, and she was going to start sculpting. And the first thing she sculpted was a black man's head, and it was really a terrific sculpt. And none of us didn't know what to do with it. And so then she sculpted Lucinda. Lucinda was shown in one doll show. She won a blue ribbon at the Texas State Fair, and she became the most popular doll in America. Even Oprah Winfrey has one of her. But this is the 3rd one of her that came out of her place. And I decided after I dressed her, I want to tell you a little bit how I dressed her. I didn't have any old fabric. I'm a quilter and I like new fabric. So I grabbed the fabric I wanted to use, and I took it over to my neighbor's house and I sunk it in their swimming pool, because that's where I fade things. And I left it there for about 3 days. The material faded. I took it out, washed it and dried it, and then started making her dress. And I was so proud that she won the ribbon. I was a novice. I was entered as a novice because I don't teach and I'm not a professional. The one who is a teacher and is a professional won a blue ribbon was her brother Elmo. So you can see that Mary Van Odsell was if she had lived, would have had a tremendous selection there of her dolls. But I enjoyed making her, except that I was on my own, and I'm going to share something with you I haven't shared with many people. She's made of 2 arms, a breastplate, and a head. And I was working on the breastplate, and it was sitting in front of me on the table, and so I rested my head where her neck would have been. And about that time, the UPS man came in. And he looked at me, and he looked away, and then he looked again. He thought that was me. I was waiting to find out how to color them. But anyway, Mary didn't ever get hers finished, and she never did build her doll. So I was on my own. I had to build the rest of her, figure out how to add her arms to something, how to make her body from the waist down, because she's just very loose from the breastplate down. And so that was an experience. It took me a year to get her done. I'd have to go and talk to people about what kind of things. I had a metal bar, and I had to figure out what I could pour down in that arm that it wouldn't increase in size as it dried, and I didn't want it to sink either. So I had to really investigate and find out every nuance that I worked on with her. But I finally finished her, and I couldn't find anything to dress her, and I didn't have time to make a dress at that time. So somebody gave me a 1940 wedding dress that I dressed her in. But she always looked kind of stupid in it because she is a 1940 person. But then the director, my teacher, finally gave me a chance to buy this dress, which was an antique, because she knows all about vintage clothing and vintage fabrics. And that's where we got most of our fabrics we work with. So our dolls would be real. And so she is in a vintage dress of over 100 years old. And Fran and I can attest to that. Where is Fran? Because we were in Scotland and they had a dress somewhat like this. And Fran and I were standing behind the red velvet rope, and we were looking and we were looking and we were looking, and the director came over and said, "What are you doing?" And we said, "Well, in America, this is the latest type of sewing. It's called French hand sewing on the machine. We're trying to see if it's handmade." And so she took the rope down and said, "Oh, go in and touch it." So we got to actually turn the dress inside out and take a look at it. But anyway, I'm so glad that she has a wonderful home, and I think she's going to be in great care here. And I just appreciate all of you so much. Thank you again, sweet friends. You mean so much to me.
Does anyone else want to say anything before you all have some more treats? Oh, I wanted to tell you we're going to put Lady Grace in the Nichols-Rice-Cherry House, which is just right down this road. It was William Marsh Rice's house before his wife passed away. And then a wonderful artist named Emma Richardson Cherry purchased it. And actually, if you walk past the house, you'll see the beautiful front door. And she just wanted the front door, and she got the whole house for $25. So she turned it into an art studio. But prior to that, its original owner was Annette Finnegan, who was a suffragist in the suffrage movement. And so we felt like she's got sort of the spirit of Annette and Emma, because they were very strong, powerful women. So we're going to sort of recreate we have a women's history tour, so she will be the focus of the women's history tour in the Nichols-Rice-Cherry. And then I believe Lucinda, we want to put her in a special case and have her, we get a lot of traffic in this museum, especially school kids, and so we'll have a little sign about her and her history in the museum, and she'll be protected.
And I think since we have the African American Heritage Houses that we were talking about, I didn't correlate that back to Lucinda, that kind of goes together.
Yes, yes. So we're very honored, and I'm so glad you all made the trek out here. And I hope you look around. We have some wonderful exhibits in our museum. This is on loan from the Bryan Museum in Galveston. It's some paintings by Charles Goodnight. And then just beyond you all, there's a photography exhibit from the early 1920s and 30s in Breckenridge, Texas, when the oil boom hit the town. They went from a town of 300 to like a town of 3,000. So the circus came through town and all these jazz groups, so you can take your time looking at that. And then we have a little gift shop, so you all don't rush off, just stay as long as you want it. And I know some of you all are going off to eat lunch on the bus. I can't do it. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you.